They say, even if the votes aren't there, we'll add them. They're jokes, they call them. But a nation's soul does not laugh at such things. Because when power toys with the sacredness of the ballot, it does not just betray the people, it betrays God. The grieving are still grieving, the missing are still missing. And still, there's no rebuke for the arrogance, no comfort for the grieving, no pause for our missing sons and daughters. It's just silence from your end, Mr. President. You say you want to make the hardest decisions for Kenya? Then make the hardest one. Put the people before the plan. Put justice before legacy. Put truth before propaganda. The same God who forgives also convicts. The same Christ who saves also overturned tables in the temple. You will not be judged by the words you speak in rallies only, but also by the weight of the promises you break and the pain that follows in silence. Then I ask you, Mr. William Samoei Ruto, to be still, to sit still. This message was never sent to harm you. This message was never sent to destroy you. It was sent to return you. For truth, Mr. President, is sacred. I wish you well. This message is for you, Mr. President, William Samoei Ruto. Not for your office, not for your cabinet, not for the crowds that share your name. For you, the man, the father, the believer, the one who calls on God in silence before dawn. You once stood as an image of possibilities, a man born from modest soil, raised not by legacy, but by struggle. You say you once sold chicken by the roadside, but it was more than that. You sold hope. You were not the son of a king. You were the son of a people, and they believed you. Not in your perfection, but in your proximity to their pain. You walked where they walked. You hurt where they hurt. And when you spoke, they had the ache in your voice. They had their own. When they saw you being sidelined by the very administration you helped build. When you left out at Bomas, locked behind shadows while power moved without you. They didn't just pity you. They connected with you. You became more than a politician. You became their reflection. They prayed for you. They fought for you. They cried for you. They even danced on the streets after you won your elections. Even those who did not vote for you, they couldn't ignore the story you carried. They saw the boy from humble soil rise against the weight of powerful dynasties. And for a moment, they felt the tremor of possibilities. They saw and had hope, because your journey reached the roots of this country. But hope is fragile, and belief sacred, because titles don't save nations, and power doesn't sanctify a man. We remember what you said, not from your spokesman, not from the hard analyst, but from your own mouth. You said you would lead with compassion. You said you would govern with humility. You said you would end the culture of extrajudicial killings. You say there will be no more abductions under your watch. You said bottom up, not top bottom. You said a government that will listen. You said every Kenyan matters. You said you would put an end to tribal politics. You said we would live within our means, that dignity will not be taxed. You said leadership is not about control, but it's about service. And we believed you, not because you were naive, but because you understood the wounds of a broken system, and you said it will not repeat. You pointed to the past and said, never again. You pointed to the state brutality and said, that will not be my legacy. You pointed to the future and said, together we will rise. You didn't just run a campaign, Mr. President. You made a covenant. And now, we return to your words, not as reminders, but as witness. Because it was not just the ballot that lifted you, it was belief. And belief is sacred. To break it is to break trust, and to break trust is to break the soul of a people. It didn't happen all at once. It began as whispers, then cracks, then the ground itself shifted. The Finance Bill 2024. Bread taxed. Diapers taxed. Sanitary towels taxed. Survival itself taxed. The youth rose, not for war, placards in their hands, hope in their hearts, and the streets answered with tear gas, with bullets, with fear. On June 25th, 2024, Kenya bled. Many young lives ended. Dozens more vanished into the night, never to be seen again. That fateful day, you held a press conference and you said that the protests were hijacked by criminals and anarchists. A statement that caused so much disbelief after the events of the day. You blamed foreign hands. You blamed the opposition. But the people knew their pain. It was homegrown. It wasn't the opposition that broke their hearts. It wasn't even the taxes. It was this. That when the family used the voice you said mattered, you chose not to hear it. The people expected protection. The people remembered your promises, Mr. President, and all they saw was fear turning into fire. And then came Alberto Juan, a son of this soil, a teacher, a writer, a father, a human being, arrested, held, but he never got to walk back out alive. A man died in police custody, and with him, something broke. A line we thought could never be crossed. Your government said it would investigate, and indeed some officers were arrested. But from you, Mr. President, from your own mouth, from your own spirit, there was only one thing, and that was silence. 3 days of silence. 3 days where our nation mourned, where fear spread like fire, where the streets carried only questions. And when you finally spoke, your words arrived late. Unable to touch the wound your silence had already deepened. The streets rose. Voices cried for justice. Some marched with placards, while others marched only with their pain. And yet again, they were met with tear gas, with bullets, with abductions, dozens killed. Countless others disappeared into unmarked cars, some returning broken, others never returning at all. Peaceful youths caught in the middle. They were labeled criminals, terrorists, and that they are sponsored or funded by an enemy of this state. Some still behind bars, charged with robbery and incitement, forced to pay a bill their families can't even afford. While those who are caught on camera walking with cabs, swinging at peaceful protesters, who burned businesses, who looted, they still walk freely. Some even admitted to being paid to cause havoc by politicians, but they're still out here. Because in this land, innocence is punished and violence is shielded. So long as it bows to the power of the day. And then came your voice, Mr. President, not to comfort, not to unite, but to harden. You called the protest a coup attempt. You called the young youths anarchists. You blamed the opposition, you blamed the clergy, you blamed the parents, anyone but the state. And then, in your order, shoot them in the leg, incapacitate them, but do not kill them. A mercy wrapped in cruelty. A command that stained the air long after it was spoken. And those who move in the shadows took it as a signal. Because when a leader does not correct the poison around him, when wealth parades in the faces of the hungry with no shame, then permission is granted without saying a single word. And so came the chance, 42 against 1. Not as a whisper now, but a wound made public. A reminder that division has been given room to live in this country. There is also a new laughter in the corridor of power. Reckless voices joking about 2027 elections. They say, even if the votes aren't there, we'll add them. They're jokes, they call them. But a nation's soul does not laugh at such things. Because when power toys with the sacredness of the ballot, it does not just betray the people, it betrays God. The grieving are still grieving, the missing are still missing. And still, there's no rebuke for the arrogance, no comfort for the grieving, no pause for our missing sons and daughters. It's just silence from your end, Mr. President. This is not politics anymore. It is spiritual betrayal. Because a leader's first covenant is with the lives he sought to protect. And when power hides in the face of silence, and wealth dances in the face of the hungry, when division is left to grow unchecked, then the soul of the nation frays. And your silence, Mr. President, doesn't sound like strength. It sounds like consent. It sounds like complicity. It sounds like a man who has traded reflection for the illusion of always being right. This is where leadership becomes lonely, Mr. President. When they praise you, you feel supported. When they protest, you feel betrayed. Yet this too is leadership. It's not the dancing at the rallies. It's not the echoes of cheers in the stadium. It's not the headlines of Trump. You see, leadership is what you do when the crowd goes quiet, and the only sound left is your consciousness. Your allies, they call you a political genius. They say you outsmart everyone. But genius don't raise nations. Compassion does. Wisdom does. Truth does. So ask yourself, Mr. President, when you are alone, do you want to be remembered as a clever politician, or do you want to be remembered as a faithful servant of the people? Because a politician asks, how can I win more power? But a true leader asks, what will my power cost my people? You say you want to make the hardest decisions for Kenya? Then make the hardest one. Put the people before the plan. Put justice before legacy. Put truth before propaganda. Because when the protest rose, you didn't just feel attacked. You felt betrayed. But what if it wasn't betrayal? What if? What if it was the people finally loving themselves enough to cry out? This wasn't rebellion. This was recognition. Recognition that the same man who once stood with them had started speaking at them, not for them. So go within, Mr. President. The protests were never your enemy. They were your mirror. And mirrors don't lie, even when they break. You often speak of God, of prayer, of the cross, of you being saved by the blood of Jesus. But allow me to ask this with a lot of reverence. What does salvation look like when the fruit is fear and not healing? Because salvation is not a badge. It's not an armor against truth. Salvation is not a cloak to hide injustice beneath. It's not a license to ignore the cries of the people while still claiming divine favor. God is not to be mocked, and His justice cannot be bought. Not with offerings, not with prayers, not with scriptures quoted in parliament. The same God who forgives also convicts. The same Christ who saves also overturned tables in the temple. The true gospel is not a campaign tool. It's the fire that refines. It's the light that exposes. It's the sword that divides what is holy from what is self-serving. And the earth is alive. It does not forget. The streets remember June 25th. The air remembers Saba Saba. The wind remembers the chants, the screams, the silence, the gunshots that scattered a generation's hope. The soil you walk on remembers where blood fell. The air you breathe in remembers every name that vanished. Even now, as the investigations stretch thin, as the answers grow cold, the earth is watching. The earth bears witness. And heaven does not archive injustice. It holds it, like thunder waiting in the clouds. Heaven waits, not with indifference, but with judgment. Because the earth has no delete button, and God himself, he doesn't have amnesia. You will not be judged by the words you speak in rallies only, but also by the weight of the promises you break and the pain that follows in silence. This is not rebellion. This is memory. This is the echo of a nation crying out from beneath your feet. And if you've heard me, not with defense in your heart, but with the stillness in your spirit, then I ask you, Mr. William Samoei Ruto, to be still, to sit still. This message was never sent to harm you. This message was never sent to destroy you. It was sent to return you. To return you to the man beneath the title. It's an invitation to begin again, not as president, as man. Because true power is not how high you rise, but is how deep you're willing to go to find that part of yourself you abandoned on the road to the throne. This message was just meant for you, nobody else, and it has arrived. And I hope you still have time to see and hear what heaven and nature itself is trying to show you. And I only ask you of this: do not let my name, Wambui Mashira, turn into another tribal debate. Do not judge the messenger, but judge the message, because that is the most important thing here. And your spirit will recognize it. For truth, Mr. President, is sacred. I wish you well.